Hey guys, welcome back to Shane Talk Sports. It's been a little bit of a minute. Your boy got his wisdom teeth pulled out last week, and I didn't feel like talking, but I'm now back. And today we're gonna be doing a part two of, just me picking, me seeing. Jeez, I don't know why I can't talk. Me picking my division winners, but this time in the NFC. But yeah, let's get straight into it, and we're gonna start with the NFC West because I think that's probably the easiest one. And for that division, I'm gonna pick the LA Rams to win that division, and it's mainly because they have a very elite offense and a very elite defense this year. We all know at the quarterback position they have Matthew Stafford, who was the league's MVP last year. He's known for his arm talent. He's a very experienced quarterback. He's one of the older guys. Definitely, he has a Super Bowl, like I said. He has an MVP, and he has a lot of years of experience. And I think the most important thing that Matthew Stafford has proved he can do in an air raid offense like the Rams is that he doesn't turn the ball over much. I mean, for example, last year he had a touchdown to interception ratio of 46-8. So that really just goes to show how, he's always out there making the right decisions. He doesn't waste possessions much, and maybe he can even contend for the MVP again. But I do think what a lot of people are saying is that since he's older, he's probably more prone to injury, definitely, because of that wear and tear that's added up on his body over the years. So yeah, they definitely have a really good quarterback, very experienced quarterback. And on top of that, they have one of the best duos in the wide receiver duos in the NFL in Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams. Yeah, I mean, last year, Puka had 1,715 yards and 10 touchdowns, and Devontae Adams had 789 yards and 14 touchdowns. And, just by looking at the stats, you can see what kind of roles they have in this offense. Puka's that guy. He's a very athletic receiver. He's fast, he's athletic, and he's one of the best in, intermediate to deep contested catching situations. And that's why he has obviously the most receiving yards, just 300 short of he was just 300 short of 2,000 yards last year. And Devontae Adams, although he's not getting as much yards as he used to earlier in his career, he's getting 14 touchdowns, and that's because he is really tough to cover at the goal line. See, when you're at the goal line, right, the biggest thing for a corner to do is you have to be able to defend the receiver's release really, really well. And Devontae Adams, he's been one of the best route runners in the NFL, one of the most technically gifted receivers we've ever seen. So he's just really tough to cover with that split release, and it's we all know where Stafford's going when he's in the red zone. And on top of their receiver duo, they also have a solid running back duo with two younger running backs with Kyron Williams and Blake Corum. They're kind of the same player, in my opinion. Two running backs who have great speed, decent power, good contact balance. And obviously, I give a lot of props to Sean McVay because, he builds that running game off of 13 personnel. It's basically just where you add extra tight ends to get more blockers, to move defenders upfield. And by doing that, you'll get more rushing yards. But all in all, when you factor in who they have as their coach, their quarterback, their receiving room, their running back room, this is just a very well-rounded offense, and they're going to be hard to game plan for during this season for sure. And defensively, I'm not going to talk too much about this because I already made a whole separate video on how Myles Garrett and Trent McDuffie are going to impact this Rams defense. And Jalen Watson. Sorry, I almost forgot about him, but they also have a well-rounded defense as well. As we know, they added those new pieces, and this is just a very good, well-rounded team. And I don't think they're going to run away with the NFC West because the Seahawks are still there, the Niners are still there, and this is one of the toughest divisions in the NFL. So I do still expect it to be relatively closely contested, but all of those teams realistically are probably still going to make the playoffs. But based off of what they did in the offseason, I'm going to go with the Rams. Moving on to the NFC North, my pick to win is going to be the Chicago Bears. The biggest reason why I'm going with the Bears is because of their offense, which is schemed up, which is built, whatever you want to call it. It's Ben Johnson's offense, and we all know that Ben Johnson has been one of the better offensive minds in the league for a few years now. I mean, we all saw what the Lions did when they had him 2 years ago. They were the number 1 seed in the NFC. They only lost like, what, 2 games? I forget what their record was, but nonetheless, they had a really, really good offense. In his first year with the Bears clinched their first playoff spot since 2020. They ranked 4th in total offense, 10th in passing offense, 3rd in rushing offense, and 9th in total yards. And we all know how Caleb Williams played the year before they got Ben Johnson. It wasn't very good, and everybody knows. You can ask anybody that watches football. They'll say football is 70 to 80% scheme and 20 to 30% like what the players do on the field, compared to like basketball where it's flipped, where it's probably 80% how good your players are and 20% coaching. Last year under Ben Johnson's offense, Caleb Williams had 3,942 passing yards, which ranked 7th in the NFL. He had a 27-7 touchdown and interception ratio and a 58.1% completion percentage. On top of that, the Bears had one of the best rushing attacks in the league last year with DeAndre Swift, who was an elusive back with great vision, and Kyle Monangai, who was a power speed running back. And similar to what the Seahawks had going on last year, having a good running game helped the Bears a lot in passing situations, especially when running play action concepts. Because when you're a good running team, when you run a lot of play action, defenses are going to have no choice but to respect your run. So that means their linebackers and their safeties are going to bite for that play fake, and the whole middle of the field is going to be wide open, which means it's a bigger window for Caleb Williams to complete passes. And this Bears receiving room, now that DJ Moore is in Buffalo, guys like Rome Odunze, Luther Burden, and Colston Loveland are all going to have increased roles, and they showed their flashes last year. I believe they all had around like 700 receiving yards, and it's going to be interesting to see what they can do and if they can turn this Bears passing offense into one of the best in the NFL. Now, on defense, I do think that like last year, the Bears are going to have to rely on turnover creation once again. They did lead the league in forced turnovers last year. I think they had around 30-something, somewhere around there, and I think that losing Kevin Byard also hurts them as well. He was their interception leader. I believe he had around 7 interceptions. He's a Patriot now. They don't have a true shutdown corner who can completely take a receiver out the game, and their defensive line, like their secondary, is also middle of the pack as well. For the NFC East, I'm going to go with the Philadelphia Eagles. With the Eagles, the story is going to be their offense. Last year, they struggled mightily offensively. They were winning games with only passing for 100 yards. A.J. Brown wasn't getting much involvement. Their run game, Saquon Barkley had a huge decline because their run game wasn't as good. And I believe they did fire their offensive coordinator, and they now have a new one. So I really do think that the Eagles will go as far as their offense takes them. The Eagles do have good personnel on offense. We all know what kind of running back Saquon Barkley is in the season he had a few years ago. They just drafted Mekhi Lemon, who was one of the best receivers in his class coming out of USC. He's very good in the short passing game. He has crazy yak because of his speed. And also Devontae Smith, right? With A.J. Brown also on the Patriots now, he's going to be getting way more targets. So it's almost like he's due for a breakout year. But I think everybody is going to be paying attention to Jalen Hurts this year. He didn't have the best statistical year last year because of, the system he was in. It wasn't very quarterback friendly. They had a lot of issues on offense, like I said. But maybe things will be different this year with the new coordinator. A lot of people think it was Jalen Hurts played the way he did because of the system he was in. And some people think that he flat out just can't do what the elite quarterbacks do. So he'll definitely be looking to prove everybody wrong. We all know what Jalen Hurts can do as a rusher, he's one of the best, scrambling quarterbacks in the game. But we will see this year if he can take that next step as a passer in this new offense. For the last division, the NFC South, I'm going to be going with the Carolina Panthers once again to win this division. This is going to be another closely contested division between the Panthers, the Buccaneers, and the Falcons. Because last year to start, it was looking like the Buccaneers were going to be the runaway favorites for that division. They had one of the best receiver rooms in the league. Emeka Egbuka was looking like a top 5 receiver at the time. Baker Mayfield was playing at an MVP level. He was an MVP candidate at that time as well, but injuries kind of just derailed their whole season. And right now, the Falcons are still figuring out their quarterback situation, but they have elite playmakers on offense in Bijan Robinson and Drake London. The Panthers are definitely up and coming. They took a huge step last year, making the wild card and almost beating the Rams as well, as they were huge underdogs in that game. But I think that they need to find a other consistent source of offense outside of T-Mac. McMillan, he's one of the best young receivers in the game. He had a little over 1,000 yards. He's 6'4". He's a good route runner, a solid catch radius as well. But I think that a lot of the times last year, he was their X factor, to where if he wasn't getting involved in the game, the Panthers didn't even have a chance, versus when he was getting involved in the game, they were beating whoever. And another thing that the Panthers have that slept on is their cornerback duo of J.C. Horn and Mike Jackson. I know J.C. Horn, he was one of the best corners in man last year. I believe he only allowed 326 yards in coverage, and he had 5 interceptions, which was the most in the league. And Mike Jackson is one of the most underrated corners in the NFL last year. What stands out to me about Mike Jackson is, number one, he's a good tackler. I think that's definitely a plus to have as a corner. He's very good at the catch point, and I think that he's really good when he's in trail technique and the ball is in the air, and he's very good at reading the eyes of whichever receiver he's guarding, and he's good at reading their hands, so he knows when to time a pass breakup perfectly. And like his running mate, Mike Jackson also did have a good year statistically. He had 4 interceptions last year, along with 19 pass deflections, which was first in the NFL. I think that ranked first in the NFL. And for people who don't know now, I think that this Panthers secondary, especially that duo that they have, is going to put a lot of teams on notice this year. I think the biggest thing for them is definitely going to be to stay consistent. Last year, the Panthers did have a lot of growing pains. I mean, they barely squeezed into the playoffs at 9-8. Especially on offense, they just gotta tighten it up. I feel like a lot of the times last year, for those of you who did watch Panthers games, it felt like, how do I say this? It was like Bryce Young would always have this mandatory turnover before they would start turning up, and that's just, if you want to get far in this league, if you want to be able to hopefully win a Super Bowl one day and make a deep playoff run, it's just not going to cut it. So I just think that consistency for them is definitely going to be key. Yeah, that's going to do it for this video. Please make sure you like and subscribe, and let me know how you guys think the NFC is going to turn out this year. Maybe you guys think that, maybe you disagree with me. Maybe you have different choices to win the division, different picks or whatever. But just let me know what you guys think in the comments. Let me know what you think I should make a video on next as well. And until the next one, I'm out.